back?
Back in 1996, the idea that viewers would be interested in the work of a forensic pathology team might have been a little bit strange, yet audiences were fascinated and gripped by the BBC crime thriller Silent Witness.
And this Sunday, the award-winning series comes back for its 15th season. With us now, the actress Emilia Fox, who plays pathologist Dr. Nikki Alexander. Good morning to you.
Morning.
First, let's have a look at the opening episode.
I almost envy her.
The baby?
Her shock. Ever since Dad, I feel... I don't even want to say it.
Numb. How we handle pain, I suppose.
What if we never get it back again?
I think with your dad, perhaps the death of strangers just won't register for a while.
Frightening thought. Perhaps we're not meant to do this job forever.
And Emilia's here with us now. It is pretty gruesome stuff, actually.
Yeah, it is. The opening episode starts with Nikki going to the a violent triple murder, and she gets involved with this case, which then turns out to be part of a much bigger case, searching for a female serial killer, and that runs alongside her father having died, and she's sort of unable to grieve his death because of their relationship. Yes, I've only watched the first part and I haven't quite got to the bottom of their relationship yet. The great news is, for fans as well, is that the three of you are still in it, which is fantastic news. Yeah, it's lovely, and each year it's lovely because we all get to come back together again, and you know, there's a great sort of family atmosphere. So.
There are loads of different threads to this, though, because it starts off with a flashback to somebody being, a forensic scientist actually being murdered about 10, 11 years ago. Then there's your funeral and memorial service for your father in character. Then there's this murder, and there's all the politics and stuff. My mum was racing, trying to keep up.
I know, I think they manage it so well, because I think it's a very difficult thing for writers to do, involve three pathologists in one case. So there are always many, it's a sort of carefully orchestrated thing with Silent Witness, getting us all...
Do you find it difficult to keep up with the plot, though, when you're acting?
That's our job, to keep up with the plot. But I think, you know, and certainly in episode 2 you see something, they try and run sort of slightly more personal stories. In episode 2 you see Harry move into Nikki's flat. Oh, you see, this is what I'm interested in. I love the relationship that Harry and Nikki have. Well, you see their sort of love for each other, and but that runs alongside a story about gangs who are grooming teenage girls for sex, and how girls, you know, thinking that they're falling in love are not, and it's, you know, and they become very abusive situations. So, you know, it's balancing the personal side of it and the cases as well.
It's amazing for any series to get sort of 3 or 4, but 15 series in a row.
I can't believe it.
I'm
very proud of it.
Yeah, it's testament to the way it's acted, clearly, and put together, but also, I suppose, there's a general fascination for that sort of topic, isn't there?
Well, I think so. I mean, you know, it's, you know, it's not just a sort of detective whodunit, where were you last night, Mrs. Jones, sort of thing, because you're learning about the science, and certainly the makers of the programme and the writers have had to keep up with the sort of fast pace of, you know, forensic science and how it's developing all the time. So I think that adds an interest to it, you know, as it's not just finding out who the murderer is, it's finding out about how crimes are solved, and, you know, through the incredible, you know, through the...
Because at one point you're going through some evidence and you're taking a boot print and then doing some stuff with a well, it's called a stun gun, and then you put it all up on this big touchscreen thing. Does that actually exist?
What, in real life?
Touching the screen and getting all that information off the wall, is that what forensic scientists do?
I don't know actually. I presume, I mean, you know, it makes it easier for, you know, people doing it in real life, I guess, using it like, you know, the technology. It's certainly really, really difficult doing it on set. How do I make all these, which button do I press now? And then, and remembering all the lines, which is sometimes, you know, it seems like it's in a completely different language. Some of it, I mean, given its very nature, that it is, you know, forensic science and all the rest of it, is pretty gruesome, actually, as well, isn't it? How does that affect you as an actress, or you know, it's not real at the end of the day, is it? Well, it's amazing what the makeup department do. On this series, actually, one of the bodies it was so good and so believable. It's always quite upsetting, but it was a particular body on this series. But, you know, when you're there doing it, actually the body helps you remember things, so you forget about it being so gruesome actually on the day. It's when you watch it back actually, then you realise how gruesome
the treatments
it is.
as well, what a dynasty you come from. Your parents, Joanna David and Edward Fox, your brothers Freddie, of course, your uncles James and your cousins Lawrence.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what do they do when they get together at Christmas?
Don't talk about acting.
Don't play charades.
No, we don't.
No, because charades in the Fox house, it must be really terrific.
Charades, it would be. No. No, we don't really talk about work actually. I guess family matters are more important when you're all together. But it is funny, and I did Who Do You Think You Are last year, so that was really interesting, tracing it back and finding out that actually the passion for the profession goes back a few generations.
So it's something. There is something in the genes then.
Well, people had always said, "Do you think it's in the blood?" And I was like, "No, don't be ridiculous. It's not. It's just that you get used to, you know, the sort of environment of it." And then actually, it was rather amazing. There's a whole sort of line of the family tree who were all involved, all the cousins involved with acting as well. It was my great grandmother, and married into other acting families, into Ellen Terry's family actually.
How interesting. Just a little bit about Upstairs and Upstairs Downstairs, because you're in that as well. A completely different feel, presumably.
Yeah, completely different, and really lovely to have just, you know, that they asked me to go and do an episode, and very different from, you know, Nikki Alexander, which I need to do.
Yeah. There's this competition now going on between BBC and ITV to have the best sort of social period drama.
Right.
I thought you'd been called Upstairs Downton for a second.
I could just amalgamate all the period dramas.
Well, it's getting that way, isn't it? Because it's ways to come through. But is there much sort of? Do you feel there's competition when you're making on set? No, just just ignore them.
Absolutely not. There certainly wasn't any when I was there, and I think very much, you know, of course, when you're involved in your own project, you're passionate about that, and I think it's really, you know.
Should have had you on with Hugh Bonneville, who's in here yesterday.
Was he?
Yeah, you could have had a sort of sort of drama act off. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Lovely to meet you. Silent Witness starts on Sunday night on BBC One at 9 o'clock. It's a 2-part special with a second episode on Monday night at the same time.
Yes, very sorry. Des O'Connor wasn't able to make it this morning. Major traffic problems, but he'll be back again soon. We very much hope.
Yes, and congratulations on his 50 years in showbiz. And we'll be back tomorrow when Rihanna will be telling us all about her first film role.
That's tomorrow from 6. See you then. Bye-bye.